We're gonna have to have a chat about Brandon's t-shirt and how the rest of us can
Well,
get in on that.
I forgot to bring them at CNS Con, but
Oh, we got Nisha's dog.
Oh,
Giant cat.
Oh, it's a cat.
It's a cat.
I couldn't see from like the small thumbnail.
It's
Yeah.
a small German Shepherd.
Small German Shepherd and giant cat. Yes, cat cool. Mm.
All right.
By the way, I do have to drop at half an hour, but I started the recording. So.
Thank you.
Actually, same here. I also have to drop in half an hour-ish.
Okay, so hopefully we can get a good start though in that time, and we can see where we end up. Today is, I shared that link to the notes doc. We now have 3 different documents to use for this meeting, which is verging on too many.
Before we dive into it, I just wanted to note that Intoto's running an election for its first steering committee, so go ahead and vote. I'm dropping a link in the chat for folks to go in and select their top 5 preferences for the first Intoto steering committee. Oh yeah, thanks, Michael. We tagged the 1.0 of the attestations framework, so if you're the spec's been massively cleaned up and the statement is now version 1.0 rather than version 0.1. Go ahead and check that out as well.
That is awesome news. Huge congrats to everybody who has been pushing for a while to get that out. And now it will be limitless adoption, right? And everyone will use it in full anger. All right, so I added attendance and let me just throw in any other agenda items besides the working session today? I'm in the right notes document, right? I don't see anybody else in there.
I have a point of order or something else. We were I think last meeting, we were in consensus that we were drafting an executive summary or ish. I mean, I keep calling it an executive summary because it's like targeted at executives. So
Yeah. I think that's we give the consensus on that.
Yes. And I will update the one of the outstanding items I have to do for that is to update the GitHub issue, just so folks who were previously interested know if they haven't been attending regularly, know what we're planning to do, and maybe if there's any other folks who were not interested before, but maybe now because of a slight change in the content, then just to make sure we can include folks. All right, so let me share my screen as well too for the other doc. I started on the workspace document, and I'll reshare this again. I'll share the link, and then I will share my screen. Let me just pull this out to a new, and then of course I clicked the share button before I pulled it to a new tab, so I need to redo the share. Right, all right, here we go. So Mostly, I was just working on the outline. I wanted to kind of Brandon's suggestion and make sure we get the structure in place the right way so that we can allow people to contribute offline and independently throughout the course of the week as time permits, and also to kind of start like framing exactly what Nisha said, the consensus towards this executive summary. So I think the idea for my title is always the hardest thing, probably do last. But based on the conversations I've heard, I kind of thinking of this as, we want it to be executive level, but kind of not really background on software supply chain security, but kind of expectations versus reality kind of thing of like we've released some white papers talking about the ideal state, where you want to get to. We don't really spend any time talking about how hard it is to get there, other than like we acknowledge this is really hard to. We try to convince people to move that way. The other thing I think we want to do that I've done with this outline so far is make sure, since we're targeting executives for the audience, and we can, I think, more easily fill in these sections now, is to keep the length short. So I've tried to put page breaks in already to this. So this takes us up to 8 pages. 8 pages, assuming the first page is like the introduction, executive summary, something like that. It's going to get long and we'll have to trim it down. For some of the other papers, we've taken the opposite approach of writing way more and then editing it down. I think for an executive summary, the opposite approach may help us be more concise with what we're trying to say, because we can't write too much. We have to be focused in what we're trying to say so that we keep the attention of the executives. The other thing I wanted to do is make sure that we're not all doom and gloom, because I think there's a lot of really exciting things happening on the horizon. So either in each section, kind of mentioning what those things are, the progress, the working groups. I think this can also serve as a call to action in these sections of like, you should contribute to these things and give back. And even if it's just giving feedback about like why the solution does work or doesn't work, like that's super valuable. And then the overall structure right now, I don't know that it fits, but what I'm trying to do is capture the areas we want to talk about, and then we may need to figure out the right flow for the content. So right now, this just the best way of organizing from my head was going back to the best practices white paper, going through the sections which were securing the source code, securing materials, build pipelines, artifacts, and deployments, and then thinking of like what would be the different issues with those areas that I could think of. So like, and then I added a separate one that I don't think we really talk about much, which is like securing over time. So like, how do you deal with things like drift and new CVEs that are released and things like that? Now with that said, like CVEs are a great example, right? Because you can talk about CVEs in your deployments, about securing over time. You can also talk about CVEs in the source code point. So like, there's a lot of different different orders we could put some of this in, but I think capturing that high level, like what are the problems we want to talk about, and then we'll find the right order to kind of like tell this story of how you want to secure your supply chain and the challenges you will run into. So the thing I like about this flow is it's kind of the left to right, beginning to end, from source code to production. That's the flow we've taken for a lot of other things. I don't know if it makes as much sense for the problems that we're going to highlight though. So maybe the first thing is just kind of like, and some of these are pretty ill-defined, intentionally so, to get feedback from you all. I have ideas about what each of these things could mean, but I will yield to Nisha.
Yeah, thanks. I think this is too much. Yeah, like there are executive summary examples online. Typically, what I have done when writing one is usually there's a title and just like a one-liner that explains like what we're trying to communicate. And then we have something called like a, that's the second heading is executive summary, which is like maybe just one paragraph of what this paper is about. Then we have a problem statement, and then we have like a description of the problem statement under that. And I think that bit, the problem statement, you can divide into like each one of these sections in the pipeline. But we also want to step back here with the problem statement and say, like, for cloud native, you cannot think in terms of a chain or a pipeline. You have to think in terms of like an internet funnel. And you have to think of all of this in terms of software reuse. So you're reusing a lot of components, and they are basically distributed into the ether. And so you have to rethink how about the general structure of like your software reuse strategy. So there's a problem statement. There's underneath that you can explain the problem, and then there is something like usually executive summaries. You talk about like what the mission is and what the market opportunity is. Instead, you can talk about CNCF's mission to organize all of these, to solve this problem, and projects and communities that are working to solve this problem. Okay, I'll yield the floor.
Yeah, I like that kind of Tanisha point on like the executive summary problem statement. I think at least with like kind of mission and vision of CNCF, I think we can just like link out to what we have existing. I do like John, your thing on like securing over time. I think that's kind of like to me that kind of like resounds a lot with like this is a general class of problem that happens across the entire supply chain. And I kind of think that so my thought initially is like, let's say securing over time, like securing over uncertainty, like you never know like how good things are. Securing with imperfect, like dealing with imperfection of schooling and things like that. And I kind of prefer to have those broad things, and then within those of them we can point to the different examples. But I think if I think like securing over time, dealing with the incomplete data, I think if I like trees, so like I think if we have like three, 4, just put the points on that, expanding, I think it probably could help with like keeping things shorter as well.
Yeah, I like those high level ideas. I added securing at scale, and I think that's in my mind this is pointing to like the Glock problem space, right? Like the metadata, the like you start to do this and then you do it everywhere, and then there's everything. Yeah, and I think each of these things we can. Oh, sorry.
This looks really good to me. Just voicing my approval to this way of thinking about security.
See, this is the best part about meeting with fewer attendees is we can gather a consensus with a smaller group, make a decision, and we'll move forward with this. So I think the other thing, so the Tanisha, to your point about the length for an executive summary, one of the things we had talked about, I think a little bit was like the idea of having something as well that the CISO or CTO or CIO, whoever it is, like can hand to their reports and take and like go and learn more at a still higher level. Like, I guess maybe there's a question of like, will the executives even read the executive summary, or will they read like the first sentences like you described and then say, hey, this sounds important. I'm going to tell my people to go look at this. And so like, I think a couple options of like one, very short paper, one to 2 pages described exactly as you said, Nisha. The other would be to like add in more content, but keep that same focus at the top. And I don't know what would work better one way or the other.
Depends on the executive. So yes, that the executive summary at the top and the one-liner under the heading is the thing that grabs. And the rest of the document should be like perusable, if that is a word. So something that someone with very little time can just like go through da. Okay, this, I think I get the gist of it. I'm going to hand it off to, like, I'm going to send a Slack message to a report and say, hey, have you looked at this? And they're going to do like a deeper dive into this document. And when they do that, they probably will say like, okay, who is publishing this and what is their agenda? And if the CNCF is publishing it, then they'll know like there has to be something in the document that says, oh, this is the CNCF. They're like a consortium, and yeah, okay. Do they have any work that they're doing on this? I'm going to hand this off to like I'm going to delegate it to my report and say, hey, do some more research on this and come back to me with a plan of action, like an executive plan. So it's gonna, I guess if you're thinking about that in that level, we need like a short and sweet like blurb in the executive summary, and a summary of the things that we're thinking about: securing over time, securing with like over uncertainty. That needs to be worded differently. Anyway, securing under uncertainty, securing at scale. So you have those 3 bullet points, and under that you have like a short description of what you mean, and then some diagrams would be really cool for that. And then you have like the CNCF's mission, values, and then what work the CNCF is doing. And I think one of that we need to point to work that is being done with regards to defining metrics, like how we measure success, or let me step back. How we subdivide this problem, and how we measure success, and what are the groups that are working on how we do this. I hope that made sense. Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I gotta drop soon, but I'd be willing to kind of like maybe write a few lines, so like at least at the high level, like I think securing open uncertainty, I can maybe write a few things, at least, and then we can kind of compare notes, make sure we don't have any overlaps over the 3 different sections.
And I will be on vacation next week. It's spring break. So I won't be able to make it next meeting, but I'll make the meeting after.
That sounds good. I'll work on the other two, and then I think we'll have a good high level way to start structuring and breaking down the work. And then I also really liked the point, Nisha, that you made about like, even though we are the CNCF, we're putting out this paper of like, we do need to like, we need to express our intent to like lead to our establishing our credibility of like, why should you listen to what it is that we're trying to say? Like, everybody's selling something, right? Like, so why listen to us, especially if you're a company building something that's you're selling to other people.
Yeah, you got it. Establish our credibility.
And also somewhere like tie into our work. Cool. All right. Definitely appreciate the feedback. This is I've really liked this this direction. So I'll make a few more changes to the kind of the outline and stuff. That part's easy. I wish there was anybody know, can you just edit the outline on the side without having to I wish it would automatically like put the headings and things like that in for me at the right scale and scope.
I think
it does that with the heading. You have to turn each of those bullets that you have underneath the big headings into subheadings, and then they come up.
I just want to edit like an outline mode and then automatic, but anyways, not a big deal. Does anybody else want to hang out for the next half hour and keep chatting about this, or should we call it early?
I mean, I'll be around, but if everybody has to leave, it's so good.
Okay, then. I'll talk to you all in a couple of weeks. Good seeing everyone.
Thanks, Nisha.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Brandon.
Yeah, I'll fill in some stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, Mike, any thoughts?
Seems reasonable. I'm, I think I'm kind of burnt out from all the like how it should be organized, and I'm just like, I don't know, somebody point me in a direction and I'll write some content. That'll do. But as far as exactly how it should be structured, I think I'm willing to take everybody else's defer to everybody else for this one.
Considering the scope and scale of work that you have done and contributed, I think that is perfectly fair.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I probably cannot like live write these descriptions of things. So I'll do that, and
and feel free to also, like if you want to just assign me to one of the things as well. Like, just say, hey, Mike, do you think you could take this section? And I'll just, take one of them.
Cool. And I will, one of these weeks, I will have something done before the meeting, and I'll try and send something
Yeah.
out midday or midweek for people to take a look at and comment on. So.
Yep.
All right. Thanks to everyone, and we will